He was the one that worked with the engravers at the end of it, so that by the time you got to 1892, I forget the exact date, but the final Great Seal was commissioned. So Charles Thompson had condensed line 625. This is where this all starts getting real interesting, right? Of Book 9 of the Roman poet Virgil's Aeneid. Now, I won't even try to quote that in the Latin. I used to be able to, but I have forgotten how. But in the English, it literally says, all-powerful Jupiter favors our daring undertaking. So again, he is continuing on to the back seal, part of the prophecy that is on the front side of the Great Seal. All-powerful Jupiter favors our daring undertaking. And from the Latin, he condenses it down to the phrase annuet coeptus, which means Jupiter favors, or providence favors. Then the phrase at the bottom of this, Novus Ordo Seclorum, the new order of the ages, that's actually a prophetic line that is in Virgil's Eclogue 4. And this is a line that Virgil is actually quoting from the Sibylline Oracle, from the oldest of the prophetesses of the god Apollo was the Cumae Sibyl, most famous of them all. And it's from her prophecy in which she is telling that at the end of time, the god Apollo is going to return and become incarnate on earth as his father Jupiter, or Saturn, the second coming of Saturn, is reigning over the heavens. Think of this as Lucifer's pledge, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, right? I will be like the Most High. This is the attempt in the end of time for the influence of Jupiter, Saturn, to reign over the heavens while his son Apollo becomes incarnate on the earth. So let me
listen to Jupiter's sound-right reasoning. The end of time that the so-called prophecy was speaking about was February 5th, 1962 and February 5th, 2025. Apollo is Alpha Uno, who isn't my son but my nephew. He is the gematria. As you can see, Apollo 71, 76, 91, and 28. Alpha Uno 55, 28, 80, and 26. But the numbers that we're concentrating on is 26 and 28, 28 and 26. All life on Earth are Goethe's offsprings. We, the sister orbs, the Ogdoad, 8 orbs, not counting Kek, Earth, our aunts, and our moons are your cousins, and Ripu the sun is all our father. Remember this well.
I quote it directly from the Cumae Sibyl's prophecy, because this is what is on the Great Seal. Here's her prophecy. Now, the last age by Cumae Sibyl sung has come and gone, and the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew. If that sounds confusing to people, it was because the Greeks believed in 4 ages. There was the Golden Age, followed by the Silver Age, followed by the Bronze Age, followed by the Iron Age, which we are in now. And when we get to the end of the Iron Age, it will roll back over into the Golden Age again. Now here's what she says. Justice returns, and this is something that in a moment maybe Derek and Sharon can talk about. It's a political authority that can institute and enforce the observance of particular things. But we'll get to that in a moment. Justice returns old Saturn's reign. I'm going to want Sharon to talk about that too. But look what she says. With a new breed of men sent down from heaven, only do thou at the boy's birth, now she starts focusing on who's coming, at the boy's birth, in whom the iron, or the Iron Age, shall cease, the golden race arise.
Listen to Jupiter's sound-right reasoning. Our Jupiter shall make clear this clip you just heard. Tarkinu Unu has made it quite known that our Jupiter was known as Ma'at Justice in ancient Kemet, Egypt. Here's the gematria. Jupiter's Ma'at, all 9s. Jupiter's feather, all 9s.
justice returns old Saturn's reign. I'm going to want...
Jupiter is the planet of justice. Whenever one culture conquered another in the ancient Near East, the planet Jupiter was given the name of the chief god of a conquering tribe. Jupiter was the planet linked to the natural order and divine right of kings. Why would this be? Jupiter is the only second brightest planet after Venus. However, Venus is forever tied to the sun. She can only be seen in the east before sunrise or the west after sunset. Jupiter's orbit, on the other hand, is independent, stately, and measured. He can soar high overhead along the ecliptic, the brightest object in the midnight sky, and he spends approximately 1 year in each zodiac sign during his 12-year orbit around the sun. He keeps perfect time in the divine plan. This is them saying that Jupiter is a female. All of the planets are female. But this is how, the Zoot does it, change things up a bit. The Hebrew name for Jupiter is the same as the word for justice. So you look that up, I think that's Justice Zodok or Zedek in Aramaic. To be aligned with Jupiter means to live in right relationship with the divine, to have integrity, mercy, and gratitude. Jupiter inspires us to believe it will all work out in the end. He encourages us to have faith, to be optimistic and expansive, to be open to possibilities and to explore. And Jupiter knows he's got a role to play in helping others too. His activities include advocating, giving support and encouragement, even wealth and abundance. Being in right relationship also means telling the truth. Jupiter also governs revelations and wise counsels and advice. Jovial energies, unskillfully or negatively applied, lead to one feel entitled, self-righteous, opportunities, pompous, overextended, or greedy. Jupiter and horoscope chart. Jupiter's energies pull us upward, aligning us with a larger plan for being in an astrological chart. Jupiter's presence gives clues to how you experience abundance and prosperity, gratitude, generosity, optimism, buoyancy, exploration, adventure, benevolence, good fortune, social opportunities, advising, working with counselors, wisdom, truth seeking, faith, trust, luck, gambling. Listen to reason. The letter R in the word nature does stand for Ra, royalty, reign, reality, reason, reasonability, rationale, radiance, rapture, responsibility, relatively, religion, rotation, revelation, etc. The sun god Ra, same as Tar, Jupiter, Uranus, and Zeus. In the sixth ether representation and manifestation of the one supreme being, absolute nature. Nature is royalty. Negative at one time and positive at another time. Nature is reality. Material and physical matter as well as matter in the form of energies and activities. All realities can be experienced by way of reason, reasonability, and rationale, except the primordial state or chaos of matter. Of course, rain refers to water production throughout all of nature, and radiance is the beauty of it all, together with law and order, plus tranquility and justice. Rapture is pleasures to be experienced in nature, and religion is an offspring of pantheism, and pantheism is an offspring of Noone, the radiant knowledge that shines in the minds of people like the suns shine in the space of the universes. A person cannot spare rotation and revolution of the universes and universe orbs without the letter R, and turning is what the universes and also their orbs do. Then too, the words revelation begins with R. Likewise, let it be known, R is let it be known. Nature, book 1, page 29. Listen to sound right reason. This writer is showing the reader and the listeners alike that Jupiter, the letter R in her name, deals with revelation. It is no coincidence that this writer has, with Auntie Jupiter's help, and NoopooH and Noone rewrote all 22 books of Revelation, which can be found on fine9news.com. There's a picture of Auntie Jupiter on one of the covers. This writer has indeed made contact with the original Ennead called Planets Today. Jupiter is recognized in Noone sign as the orb of justice. She was the one who sent Alpha Uno in NoopooH's name, and she taught Alpha Uno about religion, pantheism, and Noone, because that is what is in her zodiac house. And it is her who teaches Tarkin on NoopooH as well. Let this be known. Listen to reason. The mercy, forgiveness, and scapegoat dogma of religion obstructs justice. Justice is hard and also heavy, and if it is tempered with mercy and forgiveness and scapegoatism, it is not justice any longer, but compromise for transgressions instead. When justice becomes compromised, the compromise encourages further iniquities and transgression, and we end up with a world like we have today at the time of this writing. Compromise or transgression means that the violation of the laws of nature have not been accounted for in the right way, because accounting for transgressions is paying the penalty for iniquity required by the laws of nature. The only way to ultimately satisfy the laws of nature is for the guilty party himself or herself or his or her own kind pay the penalties required by natural law. Let it be remembered well. Listen to reason. When someone qualified determines by sound right reason what the law and penalty by nature are for a particular transgression, the degrees that the calculated person might differ from the exact law and exact penalty by nature is adjusted by the balancing powers in nature in one way or another, but always on the guilty person or his kind. During the moon cycle, scapegoatism, the guilty placed blame on the innocent, was common practice and permissible, but now that the moon cycle is over, that diabolical practice is not only ineffective, but causes backlash penalties on the person or persons guilty, and all the unaccounted for transgressions during the moon cycle must be paid for now. And this fact is the one of the major causes of Armageddon, the war of justice and balance. Let it be remembered always well. Nature Book 2, pages 158 to 159. Listen to reason. This writer has already explained how Jupiter is the planet of justice and has always been throughout time. Religion was created by our moon. That's why it was called the moon cycle. These quotes we read above showed us that Sepo and Jupiter were beefing for 6,000 years, 4,038 BC to February 5th, 1962. Take a look at this smack circle this writer had Quipu designed for me. Alright, so here we have a smack. And here in the top half, which I showed in another video, each section of the smack, one of the Ennead was ruling. So we focusing on Jupiter, which is the planet of justice. Well, I'm going to go into that further later on, so don't worry about that. Just focus on that we got the smack circle up here. Alright, at the top, in the top half. And then we got the zodiac signs at the bottom. Alright. During the top half, all 9 picnic guard races were ruled by a 9-ball orb as shown in a previous video. All orbs have attributes. However, I wanted to focus on Auntie Jupiter at this point. When the orbs, just like all of existence, reach the bottom half, things reverse over millions of years. So when you look closely at Jupiter at the top, it says justice. The top is, now look at the bottom half and what it says. Alright, that's injustice. We're going to get to that in a moment. Injustice. Listen to sound right cosmic reason. If you watch the Equal Stood, the video on opposition of 180 degrees, which you can find on my YouTube, that goes into what was on one side either have an equal opposite in the negative, or it becomes the equal opposite of its positive self millions of years later. It explained how what was positive on one side of the smack circle became negative on the opposite side of the smack circle. So when Auntie Jupiter reached the last 6,000 years of that 3 million year epoch, the moon cycle started and held back Jupiter's justice powers. Now that the moon cycle is over, it's Libra time. So that's what it wants you to understand. So over here in the Virgo section is directly opposite of Jupiter on her end, because Jupiter is so you got to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you count the zodiac signs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the Virgo cycle is the 6th cycle, and instead of being a justice cycle on this end, it became an injustice cycle on this end. Listen to reason. The word Libra is short for liberation, and we all are at the beginning of the Libra cycle, which is the first third of the revolutionary cycle. The revolutionary cycle lasts for 18 million years, and the Libra cycle is the first 6,000 years of the revolutionary quarter. The moon cycle is the last 6,000 years of the Virgo cycle, and the sun cycle is the first 6,000 years of the Libra cycle. The word Libra is the acronym of the phrase "Let it be remembered always," and the word Libra does mean liberation, balance, equality, and justice, which is long overdue on Mother Planet Earth. It is true that NoopooH and Noone will help cause these values and qualities and standards to happen via atmospheric positive changes, positive knowledge, positive understanding, and positive wisdom in the powers of the one supreme being who is absolute eternal nature. Let it be remembered always, let it be known. Transcript of the audio tape, page 17. Here you got it's Libra time, comes out to 56. It's Justin's time, comes out to 56. Jupiter time, come out to 56. Hopefully y'all getting the picture. Listen to reason. Here's a word of encouragement to the intelligent, the nature-wise. You have the opportunity and ability to survive Armageddon. The climax war between rightness and wrongness, knowledge and ignorance, truth and falsehood, honesty and deception, justice and iniquity, and being intelligent will cause you to do just that. But you must also help the foolish duly help themselves by giving to them positive guidance in accord with the nature of nature as outlined in this presentation, and likewise this word too. The unintelligent, the foolish, the believers in scapegoatism and one-sided racism. The time has finally come for each and everyone to stand on his or her own feet and merits and be judged by nature and the laws thereof through natural processes of change from one major cycle, the evolutionary cycle, to another major cycle, the revolutionary cycle. Read the preceding paragraphs in this topic again and see figure 7 and its explanation in part 2 of this book for further clarity. The big circle turns counterclockwise and it is beginning to go upward on the right side now from point 3 south. See figure 6 in part 2 in accord with the laws of nature and the positive powers of nature called Noone and NoopooH. Let it be remembered always, let it be known. Nature of Nature book 1, pages 267 to 268. Let's read the previous quotes then. Listen to reason. Now that the moon cycle, the cycle of forgiveness and mercy is over, sacrificial lambs and also scapegoatism for the guilty and by the guilty are unacceptable and ineffective. In this Libra cycle, and therefore such sacrifices as the innocent paying penalties for the guilty will cause negative backlash and laws of nature, destruction of the guilty, because the moon cycle, which is the last part of the evolutionary cycle, is over, and every person, place, and thing existing are going into a revolution cycle now, the cycle of judgment and restoring balance to persons and things for the first part of the present cycle. The revolutionary cycle is the cycle of Libra. See figure 7 in part 2 of this novenary science for the evolutionary and revolutionary cycle shown. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Listen to reason. According to sound right reason, who is NoopooH, and the smack circle of order, and also the cycle and season of the smack circle of order, the time and cycle for judgment and settlement of past and present iniquities is at hand, and not just because the messenger Afro-Un who says so, but also because all evidence and signs of the time say so. As pointed out in this Science of 9 News, and the writer repeats, the guilty are those who have willfully broken the laws of nature and intentionally done wrong acts to others and never accounted for them by punishment, although the acts were unjustified. A nature-wise person is one who never unreasonably selfish and is therefore thereby always willing and ready to stand on his or her own merits, whether they be negative or positive, and is always willing and ready to do what is right to the best of his or her knowledge and capacity and ability. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Nature Book 1, pages 266 to 267. Listen to Sound Right Reason. Ever since this writer returned back to YouTube April 5th, 2022, on Remy L. Mott's page, I did a YouTube video called Talking to NoopooH Breaks Down Nature Boy and the 3Guard at 3Guard TV. That was a month ago. This writer has repeatedly said and shown the exact date of the ending of evolution on February 5th, 2025, which is 2 years, 8 months, and 7 days from now. We all are being judged, and many of you are ignorant to this. Look at the gematria signs. See, 1962 to 2025 equals 9, 27, 27, 27, 27. February 5th, 1962 to February 5th, 2025. Look at that, 63, 63.
Today.
You can't lose. You got them 9s in there. You can't lose. Listen to Sound Right Reason. This writer has indeed made contact with Auntie Jutah, the orb of justice, and he has requested that all those who has done him wrong unjustly for their own low desires of themselves and their spirit being suffer 9 times as much, since that's the number of the zodiac house Auntie Jutah resides in. This writer has given all that he has fought a whole cult over 8 years on Facebook with little rest, defending Afro-Unu's, Jipu, and Sipu's legacy, the nature books, befriended so many Ethiopians along the way from 2007 to present, only for them all to betray this writer out of jealousy and insecurity. Some even went as far to bring up half-truths or even private conversation from years ago that had nothing to do with Noone science. They even were victims of their own personal lust and broke their words and bonds and justified the wicked acts and didn't give any care about how it would affect the one that loves NoopooH and Noone more than all of them combined, and still showed up faithfully, giving this beautiful knowledge to you because it's yours, in hopes that you will wake up to your own mental delusions and see that you all are fake woke and are just deceivers of self and kind. So this writer cries out not out of ego or self-glorification, but out of pure heartache, because my people are still mentally dead and they hate me spirit being wise because they want to do their own thing. So if that is committing acts of unjustified behavior is what you want, then take all the pain and harm you have given to this writer because you don't want to follow Sound Right Reason and have scapegoated this writer long enough. It's true and binding. If this writer Afro-Unu was murdered by anyone whosoever or anything for any reason, by any means, he has requested and predicts that all enemies of the Ethiopian race be destroyed and their roots completely eliminated, and all enemies of justice and equality be terminated once and for all, leaving alive only the elite and elect, those innocent people definitely chosen to survive Armageddon by way of Noone and NoopooH. So leaders and rulers of this planet Earth, it is most wise and in the best interest of all concerned not only to allow this messenger of NoopooH nature to accomplish his mission and assignment by Almighty Nature in the name NoopooH, but likewise help him become a part of the process of surviving Armageddon, the war of ending the old and beginning the new. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Nature Book 2, page 269. Listen to reason. Before any of these writer's enemies, self-appointed, or those used to be very close to me, this writer is not saying he is Afro-Unu or even similar in any way or strives to be that great Ethiopian messenger of Almighty Nature chosen by Jupiter. This writer used the quote to show that Afro-Unu requested from Auntie Jutah, the planet of justice, to protect him and punish those who were his enemies. I being a Noonaboo and following suit because I have not just mankind and spirit enemies, but my biggest enemies look like me. So this writer has the right to want his name cleared of all the lies and slander because his enemies really hate Noone science. Also, the prophecy about the return of justice was in reference to February 5th, 1962 to February 5th, 2022 to February 5th, 2025. Also, Noopoo's name was upgraded to NoopooH, which means Black Justice Power, and you have seen this at the beginning of his videos since Utah first gave him that name, and he made it public June 5th, 2022, which was a 9.
This is because it is I, Jupiter, who named you the Ethiopian race, and it is I, Jupiter, who has named and renamed my nephew Tar to Jutar Noopooh because he has met the honorary Honor Ray, he honors Ray level.
If you add June the 6th month plus the 5th day plus the year 2022 equals 18, 1 plus 8 equals 9. The boy that will rule is none other than Afro Unu, which is Upu, who is alive and well at 11 years old, who would take rulership of all of Africa and his surrounding islands in the year 2029 AD at 18 years old. Let's read from NoopooH's Book of Revelation Interpretation for more clarity. True me to come the piece of wartime. So this is the part of NoopooH's Revelation Interpretation chapter 22, where I'll be reading that part that is dealing with Afro Unu, who will be known as Afro Upu at the time that this will occur. Alright, this is written by me, myself, and Auntie Jutar. We did this March 27th to March 30th of this year. It took us 3 days to transcribe this. It's the ISBN number. If you want to get any of these books, go to find9news.com and click on the button that tells you to click and search out these books. If you have a hard time finding, just type in Noopooh right here. Don't use the bladder, just type in Noopooh and then the lulu.com will search it out and pull the book up for you. Alright, so it's definitely copyrighted and all of that good stuff for those who like to claim and lie that I'm putting books out in the public with no ISBN numbers. It's insane and mentally dead. Alright, so we're gonna go to verse 3, right, that deals with this. Alright, and it says, and there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and the Lamb shall be in it, and his servant shall serve him. Explanation. This has to be answered in a few ways. One, Afro Unu will have NoopooH incarnated inside his mind. That's what it means when the quote says the throne of God and the Lamb should be in it. The temple is literally on both sides of Afro Unu's head, and also the sun itself represents the temple, because that's the true body of NoopooH, is the body of the stars. The same thing with Zupu, its true body is in the stars in the bottom half. That's the actual source and the emanator, where the brain newts melt down into all the stars everywhere in the universe, and then those energies come out through what's called electromagnetic spectrum, and then they break down into other energies, atoms and elements and things of that nature, into the physical world that's able to be detected. All right. Also, we use the word lamb because the lamb also has wool, and wool is symbolic of the black race, the Ethiopian African race, who has woolly hair by nature originally, and also the sun also has wool called flocculi, right? By the scientists who discovered that the sun had wool on it. I also have a book for that you need to get called Our Hair, book 1 and 2. And also Reason the Son of Ray book also goes into how the sun has woolly hair underneath the heat. And Caucasian scientists know this, but they will not tell this to the public. Alright? Let's move forward. And his servant shall serve him in part. NoopooH doesn't have no required servants. Noonaboos are required to serve one another. Religious service is a 6 ether bottom half feature. However, as a king after Unu or Upu, or whoever will be ruling in Africa, will have helpers to assist in running the kingdom. Listen to reason. Yet Noone is not pantheism that implies worship all gods, because Noonaboos, adherents of Noone or NoopooH, and NoopooH do not worship any god. We relate to them as one mind of nature relates to another mind of nature. We converse with NoopooH, the powers of sound right reason, by pronouncing the name NoopooH at least 9 times, and then talking with NoopooH just as we converse with our immediate parents. For NoopooH's the original parent powers of the Ethiopian race. Therefore, Noonaboos of the Ethiopian race are not servants of NoopooH, but relatives instead. Emphasizing the name NoopooH by thought, whisper, or pronouncing the name out loud magnifies the power of NoopooH for better communication. The best way to serve NoopooH is to serve each other in NoopooH's knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. NoopooH is growing to be and going to be the world's soul. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Introduction to the Nature, Book 2, page 141.